I seem to remember you once saying to me that South Americans have responded also by saying you're very brave to have
Yeah,
written this book. And I think that's very true. I think to write a memoir requires courage.
Of your book, I mean, your book is very universal in the sense of there's so much attention right now drawn to the education of women around the world, and especially in Africa and the Middle East and anywhere where education is denied to women. So your story of coming from a lineage of where all the women are illiterate is extraordinarily moving and compelling. And so I think that's a part of why your book has a universal appeal, I would think, or certainly anybody who loves women, and as I do. And one of the questions that occurred to me just now, Susan, is sometimes your dad comes up in conversations down here, like when I'm talking with my students about something, I'm trying to tell them about Provincetown and tell them about all the significant figures in the visual and literary arts that live there. And I'm wondering, when I'm talking to students, to millennials, whether they have any cognition of who these people are if they weren't writing majors or they weren't particularly readers. And to the extent that your story is universal, as you were just saying, because of the father-daughter relationship, it may, 100 years from now, not matter who he was in terms of his literary fame.
yeah, that's an interesting point. Whereas we think that probably there'll be fathers and daughters for a long time, even though the families are changing. But let's say there'll be the father image or the father function for probably for a long time. And that does have a universal appeal. I agree with you. Definitely.
Okay. I hope I didn't interrupt your question.
No, I think I just had one more thing to add about courage. My colleagues, I presented the book here at my psychoanalytic association, and there were like 150 people at the Zoom, a little bit more. And one of the comments that I got over and over and over again has to do with what Esther just mentioned, is that everyone kept saying how brave you are to talk about these things. And I started wondering, what were they really saying? I mean, this is something people in the United States write memoirs all the time. Then I realized that this genre in Latin America is not very well known. Writers don't write about themselves. They write novels, they write essays, they write political stuff, but they don't write memoirs. I think maybe Pablo Neruda wrote a memoir. Gabriel Garcia Marquez wrote a memoir, but in general, memoirs are not I would say a popular genre. So everyone was really surprised and kept saying I was brave because I was exposing myself in a way that they would never dare to do. But then thinking about what Esther just said, that writing a memoir is also something that's brave no matter where you live and no matter where you come from. I agree. It's you have to delve into yourself and decide what you're going to expose about yourself and what you want other people to know, what you're comfortable with other people knowing about you. And even if there's certain parts that you're not comfortable about having other people know, is this good for the book or is it not good for the book, for the story? So I had to deal with that very much. I had a lot of soul-searching conversations with myself. Do I want to keep this part or not? I'd rather not. I'd rather take it out. But if I took it out, the story would, I would lose effect in the story, and especially in terms of who my father was for me. And so I think at a certain point, to answer your question, Esther, you become a writer. And the most important thing is your book, and not whether you're going to be exposed or not.